It took a lot to get here tonight. It took a lot. Do I want that one? I think I'm gonna start with that. Ooh, y'all. It's beginning to make a little more sense to me. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Y'all see that? Can y'all see that? Do I need to take it down? Hey, Cynthia and Clarinetta. Can y'all see what that say? I will bless the Lord, oh my soul, and let all that is within me bless you. Oh. Y'all see that? U.S. announced it will allow Qatar to build an Air Force facility in Idaho. Ain't that where Charlie died? Wasn't Candace saying that she felt like it was military and something was going on, it was foreign? Huh? In Idaho. Come on in, y'all. In Idaho, where we can't find no nothing. Okay, I'm back. Can y'all believe that? Idaho. Said it was something strange. A man in the all black standing on the roof, other cat acting, just all the actors and all. It's always a deflection of something else that's coming, right? So here we go. Qatar will be building Air Force facility. Wasn't there a couple of aircrafts? One was military that flew over it The man in the all black. The other cat. The other lady and gentleman that we found out yesterday sold her business. And they were trafficking. Okay. We gonna park that right there. Is that okay? Is that all right if I park that right there? Y'all see what's happening? Do y'all see what's happening? The U.S. announced it will allow Qatar to build an Air Force facility where Charlie Kirk was assassinated. There go that man. There go that man in that all black. There go that man. Cause this man right here ain't him. That right there ain't him. Oh, I forgot to show y'all this yesterday. So are they trying to say that it was somebody else up there with him? Cause that ain't the guy that was in the all black. It says the shadow behind Charlie Kirk. What shadow? Oh, they talking about either this or that, I guess. Because I was like, what shadow behind him? The shadow behind Charlie Kirk. New footage clears Charlie Kirk and reveals the shadow. I mean, I don't know what shadow. I don't know what shadow behind Charlie. So I'm assuming her. I mean, that's behind. I mean, I don't know what shadow they talking about. Couldn't be talking about that because that ain't him. Reveals new footage clears Charlie Kirk and reveals the shadow everyone missed. Investigators admit everything they said was wrong after 39 seconds of newly released video. Frame 38. So y'all see that? Dark figure flashes from behind. I don't see that. Man was standing there, yet no one noticed him. So I'm assuming here or there, because I guess they have it marked in red. I guess him or him. Now what does that mean? I don't know. That man down here looked like a look-alike. That should rub a lot of folks. Baby. Which one? This right here? Oh, Qatar. This one. Hey, Heavy Bear. This right here. Qatar. And the Air Force in Idaho. Yeah, that's why the FBI ain't looking for nobody, ain't questioning nobody. They know good and damn well. Oh, excuse me. They playing in our face. They said that the signal dropped. Then it came back. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth announced on Friday that the U.S. will allow Qatar to build an Air Force facility at Mountain Home Air Force Base in Idaho, which will host Qatar F-15 fighter jets and pilots who will train along U.S. troops. Y'all do know he's sending the troops to Israel. Hey, Vicky. Y'all do know that, right? He doing all of this and ain't showed the Epstein files or nothing. Don't have not one plan on it. You understand? But he making them deals, I'm telling you. He gonna create war so he won't have to leave office. And when the smoke settle, the U.S. just like BB, not gonna sue me, said he gonna leave us broke. Everybody gonna be on welfare that's left. You understand? That's the plan. I'm trying to see what this is. These commercials, man, they be long. Is this it?
The nation's most senior military officials. The president telling them the military should train in American cities.
I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for
Oh, that's that
our
man.
military.
The president's comments sure to face legal challenges
Ooh,
coming at an...
no, not that. I'm talking. I want to see what he's saying about Qatar. Now when he insulting, see, he did all that insulting stuff on purpose. You gotta watch him. Let me move on, cause y'all know it's late. No, it's here. You gotta watch him. Now, why are we going to Israel? I thought they had a ceasefire. What are we going over there for? Why would we be going over there if there is a ceasefire? Can somebody tell me that? Or do he know it ain't gonna last? And so he finna kill. Okay, because one of them colonels and generals went off on him. Now he finna send them over there. Over there. And take. Yeah, Jesus is coming back for sure. New York. Y'all, but do y'all see what he do? I don't. The ad. Okay, I gotta move on. It's not coming up fast enough for me. But y'all see what's happening. Every time somebody pissed him off, now we done laughed at him and made fun of him. He said, okay. New York defense attorney. Mad about that? Oh, yeah, let me get on up here. I don't know. Let's get on up here. So they done found a shadow in some new footage. All of it looks staged. But that Qatar, dumb Trump, they better impeach him. They better impeach him. Let's hear this about this surprise witness. Oh, he finna be sick. Oh, my God, my God. You mean to tell me it ain't finna go nowhere with Comey? Where my thing? You mean to tell me it ain't gonna go nowhere? It ain't gonna go nowhere with, it ain't gonna go far with Letitia James. He ain't do his homework. He just bitter. He just a bitter Betty. He just bitter, and he ain't did a bit of homework. And he know, y'all, we heard today that old Bondi trying to be Blondie. Didn't even know that old girl had even started the impeachment process. He finna throw her up under the bus real quick. Let's go. Oh, I ain't got no volume. Let's go.
That will, there is a new star witness that will be in an important role, probably, in the James Comey case.
Say what now?
There is a new star witness
Oh.
that will be in an important role, probably, in the James Comey case. And it's not who you think it might be. It's not some FBI informant or someone close to him, like a buddy of his who's going to tell all about what he really did about these alleged leaks to the media. No, it's someone we all thought had gone quietly into the night. But this is someone who is uniquely situated to give critical evidence in the James Comey case.
Be the man.
And
Be the
that person is
man,
a veteran
baby.
of years of DOJ service.
The
Let's
who?
analyze it. But before we do that, let's
The
remind
who?
you to hit that subscribe button. And that person is a veteran of years of DOJ service. Let's analyze it. But before we do that, let's remind you to hit that subscribe button and make us the biggest as well as the best legal analysis, political analysis channel that there is. So we'll put up this little image. And do you remember this man? That's John Durham, former special counsel. And after an esteemed career, just in case you forgot who he was, after an esteemed career as a prosecutor, he ended his career by flying around the world, eating, drinking expensive scotch or bourbon or whiskey, I can't remember what it was, with the former Attorney General William Barr, and spending almost 4 years investigating the investigators, meaning he was probing the Russian probe, looking for problems with it. And after 4 years, he produced nothing but a couple of acquittals, a lot of embarrassment for himself, and a 300-page report that I described as a bad plagiarism job back when it came out. Specifically, I said that his 300 pages took 4 years and millions of taxpayer dollars. It reads like a bad plagiarism of the 2019 DOJ OIG report on the same thing, the Russian probe, which...
Simple. I only pay $10 a month for my internet connection. Fast, unlimited, anywhere. Have you heard about Ryoko Pro? This is...
Durham added phrases to, like, quote, confirmation bias to make it seem like his work was actually original rather than just sort of regurgitating the OIG report. It was a big nothing burger and a tremendous waste of taxpayer
nothing
dollars.
burger.
But it pleased his bosses, it pleased Trump that that was happening at that time. Now, that same John Durham is now being reported as being a really critical witness in the Comey case, but not for the prosecution. He'll be a great witness for Comey because, as the reporting indicates, Durham, who spent all these years examining the origins of the FBI investigation into the Russian interference with the 2016 campaign, told federal prosecutors who were investigating Comey, because they interviewed Durham, Durham said he was unable, he could not uncover evidence that would support false statements or obstruction charges against Comey. That's what the reporting is. The federal prosecutors in Virginia, in the Eastern District of Virginia, that have been working on the Comey investigation, met with Durham remotely in August to understand the findings of his investigation. And according to the reporting, sources indicated that Durham was simply not able to give anything helpful, and in fact was giving what they call exculpatory information. So Durham's going to end up being a key figure aiding in Comey's defense. Now, those same prosecutors, just to make it even clearer now, had also met with a team of lawyers at the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. who had also investigated Comey, had called him to testify before a grand jury. They also had been unable to identify any chargeable offenses committed by Comey.
Hey,
We all remember that in the
Aaron.
Eastern District of Virginia, that the original U.S. attorney there resigned, evidently after refusing to indict Comey on non-evidence. There was also a prosecution memo done there where the career prosecutor has written up the memo saying we don't have enough information here to charge anybody. And that's what the prosecutors in Virginia had decided. They couldn't prove any false statements, and they wrote a memo to that effect. Quickly, that was completely ignored because the replacement for the U.S. Attorney, Lindsay Halligan, former insurance personal attorney to Trump, promptly rejected that, right? Returned the 3-count indictment against Comey. Now, prior to appointing Halligan, Trump was bragging that she was going to get things done. She would get things moving. But Halligan's still having some problems. She can't even find prosecutors in her own office to try the case. Remember, she went to the grand jury on her own. And she showed up in court to present that indictment on her own. Reporting now indicates that ahead of the arraignment time, she's added some prosecutors. She finally found some federal prosecutors to do the case with her, but they're not from her own office. She had to bring them in from another district from North Carolina. She added them. And that would indicate that she literally cannot find anybody in the Eastern District of Virginia to help her with
And
this.
don't nobody want to touch it.
Durham is going to be a great defense witness to help Comey, but there will be lots of obstacles to trying to get him to testify, right? DOJ is going to say, oh no, these are privileged issues. You can't get him to talk about his investigation at that time. So there's going to be a huge amount of litigation over that. You know who else will be a great witness potentially with even more obstacles? Attorney General Pam Bondi. In a hearing before Congress, she was questioned specifically.
And remember, we found out today, she didn't even know. She had already said no. So she found out today. That the insurance attorney went ahead and did it anyway. So it's fallout. Because she already know her law license. Now y'all playing with my money. Yeah.
About many things.
And she had already said no. So, although that lady worked for her, she must be playing with Donnie.
Actually, with even more obstacles, Attorney General Pam Bondi. In a hearing before Congress, she was questioned specifically about many things, but specifically about what caused her to indict Comey. Did Trump direct her to do so, etc.? Remember, Trump had done a social media post saying she needed to get going. They are guilty as hell, said Trump, meaning Comey, Letitia James, I think Schiff as well, saying no more delay, do it now, Pam Bondi. And let's take a look at Senator Blumenthal attempting to ask her about just what was going on there, what effect Trump's instructions via social media had on her. Take a quick listen.
I'd like to know from you what conversations you've had with President Trump about the indictment of James Comey.
Senator, I am not going to discuss any conversations I have or have not had with the President of the United States. You're an attorney, you have a law degree, and you know that I'm not going to do that. I also find it fascinating, because I'll keep fighting to ensure that law enforcement and the judicial process move forward without political interference.
So I like how she has to read her talking points because she wants to quote Blumenthal quoting Trump, how he should have been brought.
Not sure if you saw the news, but Fox News is claiming...
She have to read somebody else's talking points. Lord, where he found these people at? Lord. Y'all please hit the like button if you don't mind.
Blumenthal quoting Trump, how he should have been brought to justice a while back. Query if that's the best quote to use, but what I like about the fact is that she's clearly having to remind herself to read her talking points to get those quotes right. She couldn't be bothered to memorize it. Then Blumenthal, quite logically, tries to ask her about a dinner she had with Trump the night before the Comey indictment. She then quibbles over the senator's characterization of just how many people were at the dinner. Take a listen here.
And how cute she was.
The night before James Comey's indictment. That dinner with the President of the United States. Pretty intimate group.
Actually, there were a lot of people there that night. That's a great
James
picture.
Comey discussed at that dinner.
I love that picture. That's a great picture. And there were a lot of people there that night.
She says that she loves that picture. That's her main response. What is that saying? A picture is worth 1,000 words. That's a quote often misattributed to a Chinese proverb. It actually came from an American advertising executive, Arthur Brisbane, who came up with that. Here's the proof. We'll put up the site for you. And I think that's particularly appropriate here because a picture tells you 1,000 words. It came from an advertising executive, and this is a sell job, right? A.G. Bondi is selling to the American public via Lindsay Halligan
A hot
Donald
mess.
Trump's product, which is, I want to show you that James Comey did something wrong. He is part of this corrupt plot to have victimized me, Donald Trump. And so that's really appropriate to let the picture do that talking. And that picture of her at the dinner really says everything. So we'll kind of leave you with that image in mind. We'll keep an eye on what happens with the Comey case and who actually ends up being the star witnesses for the defense. Talk to you soon.
In collaboration with the Midas.
Hold on, I'm finna get to you too. Hold on. All y'all legal attorneys on it bad. Y'all got it bad. Y'all on him. Hold on. Oh yeah. They finna team up and embarrass him again. He ain't figured that out yet though. Hold on, where's that? That one. Hold on, y'all. I thought I moved it up. Oh, okay. I had to totally reboot. There we go. Before. I came back. Oh, and his homeboy Show didn't want to come to terms with that truth. Hold on. Why is it taking me all the way down here?
Durham is.
I must have deleted it. Hold on. Oh no, it was this one. Lord.
And they concluded there was no case.
Discover the 10-second honey trick to stop memory loss. The secret the billion-dollar industry doesn't want you to know.
21 and a 1-hour interview between Special Prosecutor John Durham. A new leak from the Department of Justice, a secret grand jury testimony of James Comey that was
They already had
a new leak from the Department of Justice.
Told y'all they gonna be
secret grand
leaking.
jury testimony of James Comey that was unknown that he did back in 2021, and a 1-hour
That was
interview
unknown.
between Special Prosecutor John Durham and the prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia convinced them that there was no case against James Comey. I tie all of this new reporting together here on the Midas Touch Network and on Legal AF. I'm Michael Popak. So we all know now that the FBI director, former FBI director James Comey, was indicted effectively by Donald Trump's hand-picked insta-prosecutor Lindsay Halligan over the objection of all of the career prosecutors in the office responsible for investigating James Comey. they concluded that he did not leak information to the Washington Post or to any press entity to try to embarrass the Department of Justice. They did not recommend a prosecution. And now we know from new reporting that ABC News is reporting a couple of things that we never knew before. First of all, the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. already looked at James Comey. James Comey has been looked at like proctologist style by John Durham, the special prosecutor, by the D.C. prosecutors, and now by the Eastern District of Virginia. And everybody gave him a clean bill of health except for Lindsay Halligan, Donald Trump's 8-year lawyer, special prosecutor, lawyer that helped him in Mar-a-Lago, whatever she's supposed to be. But the new reporting I want to focus on is a couple of elements. John Durham, who spent 4 years, was handpicked by Bill Barr, Donald Trump's own attorney general, to look into whether the Russia investigation, the Russia collusion investigation, known as Crossfire Hurricane, is started earlier under the Obama administration.
So he just picking
and all, whether that was legitimate.
They've
or
already
there were crimes
done this
committed.
before.
John Durham spent 4 years, 2 presidents. He issued a 304-page report. He spent tens of millions of taxpayer dollars. He indicted 3 people, none of them named James Comey. And he concluded and told, according to this new leak, because it's a very leaky DOJ right now, because this is the resistance. He told in an hour-long interview in August that there was no facts that he had to support charges against James Comey. He will be, John Durham, a lead witness if it gets that far on the dismissal of the indictment or, God forbid, a trial of James Comey. John Durham gave James Comey a clean bill of health on perjury, plain and simple. That's new fact number 1, leaked through the Department of Justice. So when Lindsay Halligan got to her desk, such as it was, 48 hours after she was appointed, having never been a federal prosecutor, she was met with a memo that was prepared by the team in the Eastern District of Virginia, who had spent 2 months investigating whether there were charges that could be brought against James Comey, because that's what they were told to do by the Department of Justice and Donald Trump. And they concluded there was no case to be brought, no sustainable charges, criminal charges against James Comey. How did they conclude that? An hour-long interview with a special prosecutor to be downloaded on his 4-year investigation. They also spoke to the prosecutors in
so it's gonna get thrown out.
U.S. Attorney's Office, who also looked at James Comey, and they also learned that there was a grand jury that we did not know about. Second piece of information that's new here. A grand jury that was impaneled back in 2021 that James Comey testified in front of, right? As they were trying to get to the bottom of the leaks. And they also concluded that there was no case against James Comey. So we've got all of that. All of this strengthens the hand of James Comey, his lawyers, to get this indictment dismissed and to prove vindictive prosecution. There's a reason that prosecutors don't bring cases like this, and the principles of federal the principles of federal prosecution of the Department of Justice manual says so. In fact, John Durham, this special prosecutor that just cut the legs out from under Lindsay Halligan, in his own report, at the end of his own report, 304 pages when he issued it, said the following. He said,
have you ever wanted to see your home from space? With this
and the outcome of the special counsel, he said, if this report and the outcome of the special counsel's investigation leaves some with the impression that injustices or misconduct have gone unaddressed, it is not because the office concluded that no such injustices or misconduct occurred. It is rather because not every injustice or transgression amounts to a criminal offense, and criminal prosecutors are tasked exclusively with investigating and prosecuting violations of U.S. criminal law. He's speaking to you, Lindsay Halligan.
Dummy.
A career prosecutor, a special counsel appointed by Donald Trump's own attorney general, concluded there was no crimes committed by James Comey. The U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. concluded there were no crimes committed by James Comey, and he testified to a grand jury. And yet, over the objection of career prosecutors in your office that you inherited on day one, who told you there's no case because the Department of Justice manual says that you cannot bring a prosecution unless there's probable cause to believe that you will be able to sustain that conviction all the way through appeal. Beyond a reasonable doubt standard being applied. So it's probable cause, like it's more likely than not that I will be able to win my case in prosecution beyond a reasonable doubt and get that upheld through appeal, then I can bring the case. She can't bring the case. And I love hearing Lindsay Halligan, by the way, in her comments about why she brought the prosecution. Here's what she says about that.
Please.
She says, she grew a brain and she learned about the separation of powers. Donald Trump's busy assaulting states, trying to federally, hostilely take over Oregon and California.
And Utah. He playing with
federal
Utah.
Judges, including ones that he appointed, insurrectionists and terrorists. And here's what she has the cojones, the brass ones, to say out loud. Why she brought the indictment. The balance of power, you mean among the three co-equal branches of government, is a bedrock principle of our democracy, and it relies upon accountability and a forthright presentation of facts from executive leadership to congressional oversight. You want to see the clip again of the thing that she got her grand jury, because I'm sure she misled them, to indict James Comey on, but barely, 14-9 in the vote? Let me show you the clip of the exchange between Ted Cruz and James Comey. Play the clip.
Russian assets. All right, let's shift to another topic. On May 3rd, 2017, in this committee, Chairman Grassley asked you point blank, quote, have you ever been an anonymous source in news?
So they indicting him off of this, Ted Cruz, the one who didn't realize that BB not gonna sue me, Israel was fake and wasn't the one in the Bible, and he was quoting that was why he was sending money over to Israel. He didn't realize that it was fake.
Reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation.
Oh,
you responded under oath, quote, never. He then asked you, quote, have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton administration? You responded again under oath, no. Now, as you know, Mr. McCabe, who works for you, has publicly and repeatedly stated that he leaked information to the Wall Street Journal and that you were directly aware of it and that you directly authorized it. Now, what Mr. McCabe is saying and what you testified to this committee cannot both be true. One or the other is false. Who's telling the truth?
I can only speak to my testimony. I stand by what the testimony you summarized that I gave in May of 2017.
So your testimony is you've never authorized anyone to leak. And Mr. McCabe, if he says contrary, is not telling the truth. Is that correct?
Again, I'm not going to characterize Andy's testimony, but mine is the same today.
All right, I'm going to make a final point because my time has expired. This investigation of the president was corrupt. The FBI and the Department of Justice were politicized and weaponized. And in my opinion, there are only two possibilities. That you were deliberately corrupt or woefully incompetent. And I don't believe you were incompetent. This has done severe damage to the professionals and the honorable men and women at the FBI because law enforcement should not be used as a political weapon. And that
Well, what you think about what Trump
is
is
the
doing
legacy you
now?
have left.
Okay, so what's that all about? Who leaked? Who leaked to the Washington Post? The Office of Inspector General for the Department of Justice concluded that it was Andy McCabe, who was his second in command, and that he challenged Andy McCabe about it. Comey did, and McCabe lied to him. That was a conclusion of the Office of Inspector General, also a piece of evidence to be used by James Comey. That's it. That's the entire. You're like, isn't there more? Where's the smoking gun? There is no smoking gun.
Yeah.
And if there was, John Durham put it into a bucket of water. There's no case against James Comey. This is all about vindictiveness, retribution, retaliation. He doesn't like that James Comey told him off or refused to pledge loyalty and has been on a tour ever since writing books against the Trump administration. He doesn't like all that. Even though, in retrospect, James Comey contributed likely to Hillary Clinton losing to Donald Trump because he had to announce the email server investigation was going on because he had all these problems in his own office with people like Andy McCabe undercutting him. So he had to take to the podium at exactly the wrong time and say that we're looking into Hillary Clinton's emails when she needed momentum to win an election against Donald Trump the first time. So it's sort of a mixed bag when you talk about James Comey, but he shouldn't be prosecuted as a result of it. And so we're going to continue to follow what happens here. But this is like manna from heaven, this leaky Department of Justice. And this is how the resistance is operating. It is leaks like this that come out from within the Department of Justice. I know, I'm sure Pam Bondi and Stephen Miller and Kash Patel will be shaking their fists. We need to get to the bottom of leaks. Leaks are killing our
Now you need to bring the Epstein files.
But leaks are going to be the death of you because these are loyal civil servants who are getting out information to the public and through the press. And they have a good role model. I mean, one of the counts that the grand jury rejected against James Comey, was that he leaked to Daniel Richman, a professor at Columbia Law School who was a good friend of his, who used to be an assistant U.S. attorney in New York, where Comey was the U.S. attorney, leaked to him information about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump and the Steele dossier and all sorts of things to make Donald Trump look bad. That was investigated. There was a conclusion that was not that did not happen. And certainly the question and answer between James Comey and Lindsey Graham at that same Senate hearing about, do you remember that you got a memo about Hillary Clinton trying to bring up all sorts of information about a candidate named Donald Trump? No, I don't remember that. You can't convict somebody on lack of memory for perjury, Lindsey. I continue to follow it all right here. I'm glad you're here on Legal AF and Midas Touch Network. Take a moment, subscribe.
Okay, let's move on. Shout out to you, Illegal AF Pop. Can y'all please double tap the screen? Miss Kimberly down there is letting y'all know that there's 500 and some people and we need to get the likes up. Double tap your screen. Hit the 3 dots at the top right or hit the thumbs up. Let's go. Do I want to? Yeah, let's go to this old one. Can y'all believe Qatar will be building the Air Force? All of that is everything to do with Charlie. Let's go here.
Getting help from experts is an investment in yourself. With portfolio management backed by 50 years of investment.
General feeling that people have that you're an anti-Semite. Address that head on.
Judaism is a faith. Israel is a state. It is not above critique. And
okay, let's go.
This general feeling that people have that you're an anti-Semite. Address that head on.
Judaism is a faith. Israel is a state. It is not above critique. And that what Bibi Netanyahu has done to the Palestinians since October 7th is a Holocaust.
Is a
This is
what?
about power. This is about control. I'm not going to quiet my perspective on that to kowtow to whatever the prevailing narrative is at the New York Post.
All of my gay friends are like, they better not hold a trial within, 50 miles of Hell's Kitchen in New York.
This hot assassin that executed a woman executive, would you be saying any of this?
I have no idea Don Lemon is still speaking. On the Jay-Z recent stuff, I don't believe it. I looked into that case, and I actually don't believe it.
A lot of holes in it.
A lot of people in Hollywood are perverts, they're drug addicts, they believe that they are gods.
You once said Jay-Z's like God to me. How do you feel about him now?
Did I say this?
You did.
Oh, was God, past tense. I was like, what are we talking about?
Candice, it's been great to see you.
Too much fun.
Okay, y'all ready for this?
When my next guest went independent earlier this year, some people...
So she finna go into some details about what we talk about. Y'all please double tap. Hit the like button. We are about...
This general feeling.
We are about to go in. If that's okay. Is that okay? Can we go in? Just double tap, like, let's go on your phone.
This general feeling that people have that you're an anti-Semite. Address that head on.
Judaism is a faith. Israel is a state. It is not above critique. And that what Bibi Netanyahu has done to the Palestinians since October 7th is a Holocaust. This was about power. This was about control. I'm not going to quiet my perspective on that to kowtow to whatever the prevailing narrative is at the New York Post.
All of my gay friends are like, they better not hold a trial within, 50 miles of Hell's Kitchen in New York.
This hot assassin that executed a woman executive, would you be saying any of this?
I have no idea why Don Lemon is still speaking. On the Jay-Z recent stuff, I don't believe it. I looked into that case, and I actually don't believe it.
A lot of holes in it.
A lot of people in Hollywood are perverts, they're drug addicts, they believe that they are gods.
You once said Jay-Z's like God to me. How do you feel about him now?
Did I say this?
You did.
Oh, was God, past tense. I was like, what are we talking about?
Candice, it's been great to see you.
Too much fun.
When my next guest went independent earlier this year, some people openly hoped, well, she'd vanish from public life. But no such luck. The uncancelable Candace Owens is more successful, influential, and, of course, controversial than ever. For the first time ever, she joins me here in the Uncensored studio. Candace Owens.
I'm so pleased to be here.
We meet in my lair at last.
I like it.
And interestingly, I've just done your podcast today. And it was an interesting experience. You were nice. I mean, you were sort of human, you were warm, you were quite friendly, you were charming. I waited for the sting in the tail, the combat, the gotchas. It never happened.
It never happens. I'm actually so nice.
Either you're massively misunderstood, or you're softening your old age. What's happening here?
No, I am always nice to everyone. I'm just on the receiving end of so many gotchas, and I'm constantly in defense mode, so people see me and they perceive me as always battling. And actually, I'd rather just exchange ideas and learn what people believe, but it's just not possible today in today's social economy of just constantly trying to get each other and, oh, I've proved Piers Morgan's racist. See, I tricked him. I just wanted to know who you were.
It's very interesting, because I've got a theory. This is the remake of Trump, for example, is that in the longer form interviews he gave in the election campaign, the big podcast, Joe Rogan, 3 hours and so on, people heard and saw a lot more of him than they normally did. And they liked what they heard and saw. And he liked the response he was getting. And it went from being endless combat with the legacy media, where it's like press conferences, bang, 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 bang. It's 10-minute soundbite interviews, bang, 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 bang. It went to a much longer, less confrontational, more open-minded series of discussions, where both sides and the people listening and watching felt like they got a different Trump altogether out of it. And I think it has changed him.
I was pleading with them to do that, start doing podcasts, because we get it. You go to NBC, they hate you. You're going to fight with them. They're going to say you're racist, you're sexist, you're misogynistic. What is the public learning from this? The most fascinating interview he did, I thought, was with Theo Von.
Yes.
When he was so genuinely trying to understand Theo Von's prior addiction.
Yes.
And that's such a compelling story, because Trump has never drank, as you know, his entire life. He lost his brother Fred. That's the side of Trump that people want to see. And there was actually...
So y'all, when I was telling y'all the other day that she was in it, she was in there with Charlie and Trump, she was in this Zion, she was in this Israel stuff, she was in it big time. Let's go.
trying to understand the new podcast economy and why conservatives have been so powerful. And they sort of noted that in this new Joe Rogan economy, as they called it, authenticity sells. And people are either reading you to be authentic or they're reading you to be somebody that's just a clone. And so I think that's what people like about my podcast, and that's what I just try to do, is just be myself.
You broke away from the Daily Wire. It was all well documented.
Or was fired, one or the other.
Whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter, does it? Same when I left the morning show. I was out. And you went out on your own again. I mean, it's a tricky thing to do that when you've been part of a big media conglomerate success story in new media like Daily Wire. You go out on your own. How did you feel when you went catapulting back into independence, and how has it worked out for you, do you think?
You know, I think for most people it's easier because you leave and they're not trying to sort of tarnish your reputation. I kind of left in a period where there was just a full-blown effort to cancel Candace Owens. Like, it was like, we don't want her to be able to survive. It was every petty smear that you could possibly come up with. And I wasn't expecting that, especially after working as hard as I did at the Daily Wire for 3.5 years. But I loved it because you need those reminders in life. Like, you fight the hardest when your back is against a wall. And so I just turned it around, and it motivated me. And I was just excited about being able to take on conversations that, because of course we all, when you're a part of a larger organization, do have to do a little bit of self-censoring because, well, you know, maybe the execs don't think that or don't believe that. You have to kind of convince them about your side. And so it's been just a tremendous opportunity, so much growth. And my husband's absolutely brilliant. So he figured out the business side of it, and I just do what I do best, talk on the internet.
I like all the Daily Wire guys, and I like you. And if that gets me cancelled, so be it. But I do, and it was a shame to me that you all fell out like that. Do you think you'll fall back together in a more friendly way or not?
You know, I don't even think of it as a falling out. I think we're just different people at the end of the day, and I think that's okay. You don't have to be friends with everyone. I was never friends with Ben Shapiro. He didn't even work in the office, so I think people think that we're all working together all day. I still maintained my friendships with all of the other hosts that I saw every day, and I learned a lot there. So I have no regrets about the time that I spent there. Tons of lessons learned, no hard feelings whatsoever, because you know I made my show bigger and was able to lean in more into being myself. So who's to be upset about anything?
One of the narratives at the time was that you're anti-Semitic, as you know. And on Sunday, you were named Anti-Semite of the Year by the watchdog Stop Anti-Semitism. They said you blew the competition away with more votes than anyone in previous years.
Every day, and I learned a lot there. So I have no regrets about the time that I spent there. Tons of lessons learned, no hard feelings whatsoever, because you know every day, and I learned a lot there. So I have no regrets about the time that I spent there. Tons of lessons learned. No hard feelings whatsoever, because you know I made my show bigger and was able to lean in more into.
Let me move this. I'm sorry.
Being myself, so who's to be upset about anything?
One of the narratives at the time was that you're anti-Semitic, as you know. And on Sunday, you were named Anti-Semite of the Year by the watchdog Stop Anti-Semitism. They said you blew the competition away with more votes than anyone in previous years. And their founder, Leora Rez, told the New York Post, Candace Owens, witch's brew of anti-Semitism drew from vile medieval blood libels between claims that Jews drink Christian blood, conspiracies that Jews are pedophiles who control the media and are taking over America, modern toxic anti-Israel hysteria. There is no psychotic rabbit hole too extreme for this poisonous hater. Now, we'll come to the specifics of that charge, which are obviously pretty full on.
They hate her for leaving or for coming to terms with the truth?
This general feeling that people have that you're an anti-Semite, address that head on.
Well, it's actually not even a general feeling. So that what's really remarkable is if you go underneath that post or go find the New York Post post, every single comment is in my favor. And so we've gotten to this point now where the charges of anti-Semitism are kind of going through the exact same routine that the charges of racism did back with BLM. Like, first, people took that very seriously. Like, if I said, Piers, you're a white supremacist, you would have just been astonished, because who wants to be called a white supremacist? But then you started to realize this was about power, and this was about control, and this was about trying to manipulate people to take your perspective. And post-October 7th, you know, you had what I refer to them as like the Likud party media in America. I count the New York Post among them, who just insisted that unless you agreed with everything that Bibi Netanyahu was doing and towed a very specific line, they were going to smear and libel you and ruin your life. And, a lot of people, I think, shirked at that and kind of wanted to keep their head low. I didn't play that game with my own community. I was willing to take all of the figurative bullets with Black America, calling me a race traitor, a self-hating Black person, whatever it was. I don't view Jewish people to be some exception where you're allowed to now call everybody anti-Semites because you can't actually debate what Bibi Netanyahu is doing and why so many people around the world are not comfortable with it. So, yes, they can award that all they want. People are mocking it. It's now become like cartoonish. And they have, unfortunately or fortunately, completely removed the power from that term.
What is your view of Jewish people, of Judaism?
Yeah.
For the record, what's your view?
My view is that, Judaism is a faith. Israel is a state. It is not above critique. And that what Bibi Netanyahu has done to the Palestinians since October 7th is ignorant. And they have, unfortunately or fortunately, completely removed the power from that term.
What is your view of Jewish people, of Judaism?
Yeah.
For the record, what's your view?
My view is that, Judaism is a faith. Israel is a state. It is not above critique. And that what Bibi Netanyahu has done to the Palestinians since October 7th is a Holocaust. There is a Holocaust that is being committed on Palestinian children and women. And I'm not going to quiet my perspective on that, to kowtow to whatever the prevailing narrative is at the New York Post.
I had Dan Bilzerian on Uncensored recently. I got to say, it took a pretty shocking turn, the interview. I hadn't fully factored in just how, in my opinion, after talking to him, brazenly anti-Semitic he is. And this included this clip here. Do you not understand why Jewish...
Please hit the like button. Double tap the face of your screen. Or hit the thumbs up. Please, it's 500. We're 475 in here. I need to get the likes up. I don't even want to tell you how many likes I have. So just double tap. Come on. We can do it. We can do it. Say we can do it. Sing with me. We can do it. Say we can do it. Let's go. Keep hitting the like button so I won't have to stop.
Victimhood, given that 6 million of them were killed in World War II by a genocidal monster. Shocking turn, the interview. I hadn't fully factored in just how, in my opinion, after talking to him, brazenly anti-Semitic he is. And this included this clip here. Do you not understand why Jewish people might feel a sense of victimhood, given that 6 million of them were killed in World War II by a genocidal monster in the Holocaust? Do you not understand why that might make Jewish people feel that, yes, they have indeed been victims?
Yeah, I mean, that figure's been revised. They said that it was 4 million that died in Auschwitz, and then they said it was down to 1 million, so they've revised the figure.
Well, how many people? How many people do you think were killed in the Holocaust?
271,000 that died in Auschwitz.
How many do you think were killed in the Holocaust?
I don't know, but I would bet my entire net worth that it was under 6 million. The evidence all says that it was less than 6 million. I mean, just the mathematics don't work. You can't cremate that many bodies.
I'm sorry, but I just find that unbelievably offensive, and I'm not even Jewish.
Oh.
This Mike's Hot Honey
He looked kind of werewolfish, don't he? He just sitting there looking all hairy. Oh.
I mean, just the mathematics don't work. You can't cremate that many bodies.
Oh,
I'm sorry, but I just find that unbelievably offensive, and I'm not even Jewish. You see, this is where I'm like you. I think there's been a weaponization of all these things. Whether you're transphobic, you're racist, you're sexist, you're anti-Semitic, whatever it may be, you're Islamophobic. I mean, people just spray this stuff around all the time to the extent where it does become meaningless. And actually, people who are genuinely are those things, they get caught up in the wash and almost protected by the kind of wash of stuff. But when you hear someone like Dan Bilzerian, what do you feel about someone like him?
Yeah, so I actually didn't watch that interview, so I haven't seen it in its full context, and I try never to weigh in on clips because there'll be something I'm missing, and then everybody screams at me. But what I will say is this. The larger discussion that's happening right now is whether or not having survived a Holocaust gives you the permission to commit a Holocaust. And for whatever reason, people have been, what I would say, milking the Holocaust narrative in the same way that Black Americans were milking the slavery narrative and essentially saying, like, we lived through this and we survived this, and so now nobody can say that anything we do is wrong. And that's the big issue today, is that we have so many people that will not recognize that it is totally feasible that a Jewish person, and I'm speaking here about Bibi Netanyahu, could do something as horrific as what was done to the Jews throughout World War II or throughout history.
But is that an accurate comparison? I'll tell you why I say that. As we know, I mean, whatever Dan Bilzerian wants people to believe, 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust. Another 6 million people were murdered by Hitler and the Nazis. The numbers of people being killed in Gaza are, in my view, have gone way beyond what is acceptable as a response to October the 7th. However, you're still talking about, at the moment, a death toll of under 50,000. There's no comparison in the amount of dead people compared to the Holocaust. So do you understand why?
But it is a Holocaust, what's happening.
Well, is it though?
Yes.
So, I think language is really important.
I think language is really important as well, and that's
people
why
say Holocaust, genocide.
I think what's happening is a Holocaust. The burning bodies of the children that I'm seeing every day, and we spoke about this a little bit on my show, but I have recognized that the ability to see this stuff every day has transformed my opinion. Maybe the numbers wouldn't have gotten so high if people had spoken up when it was happening at the very beginning during World War II. And so I want to use my platform to say that I believe that they are intentionally executing a Holocaust. I think Bibi Netanyahu, there's tons of evidence, and obviously the Western media is not reporting on this, but the corruption trials that are going on with Bibi Netanyahu pertaining to October 7th and him editing the transcripts and the prior knowledge that he knew is now becoming extremely pertinent. It is a question as to whether or not he allowed the attacks to take place, essentially to then be able to go in and to commit this Holocaust against the Palestinians. Now, based on everything that I've looked into and stuff that I had not seen before, because the Western media doesn't cover it, Bibi Netanyahu caught off camera speaking about how he had no intention of following the Abraham Accords and how he was going to get around it. He has, I believe, genocidal ambitions, and that's enough. We don't need to dispute, go backward or forward. Do I think Bibi Netanyahu has genocidal ambitions against the Palestinians? The answer is yes.
Do you think he's a war criminal?
Yes. I believe he's a war criminal, and I think that the issue is how much power he has, particularly in America, and I want to make sure that I'm just crossing, or I guess making that clear to people across the pond. You know, in America, we have lobbying. You guys don't have lobbying here, and so this is why it might seem...
We do, but not to the same degree.
Yes, like AIPAC spent $100 million in our elections, and what that means is that they're able to write fellowships, they're able to pay journalists, they're able to pay people to attack and take down people who speak against their initiatives, and they are... AIPAC, I would say, is very much pro-Likud party, pro-Bibi Netanyahu, and this is why you have seen people like me being attacked the way that they have been attacked for what I believe is just a human stance on what's happening to the Palestinians. I don't care if you had flipped it, if it had not been Israelis, if it had been, if it had been Christians doing this to Muslims, I would say the exact same thing based on the images that I've seen. But there was a ton of evidence that Bibi Netanyahu allowed October 7th to take place, including the things that we found out, because I now read Haaretz Daily to
You don't actually think he knew it was going to happen?
Let's just talk about the facts. We don't have to speculate on that. What we do know is that they did intercept the hostage plan before it took place, right? The 250 hostages that came out in Haaretz media. We also know that Egypt gave them prior warning that the attacks were going to take place. Egypt said that they were being ignored. That was a fact. I've been to Israel. Have you been to Israel? We know it's the size of New Jersey. We know that it takes 15 minutes to get from one end to the other. And we know that every 5 feet, there's a person in your face holding a gun. That attack went on for 2 hours without interruption. I find that hard to believe. And this gets to the, I guess you could say, the nucleus of the corruption trial against him, when now he's even arguing with the IDF minister who he fired, Yoav Gallant, am I saying his last name correctly, where they're saying that some funny stuff happened on October 7th, and they are explicitly accusing him of feeding lies to the Western media. This is crucial. And this could be the undoing of everything. If we find out that he had prior knowledge, and we do know for a fact that he said that he intentionally wanted to take over Palestinian territory, you should find that clip and play it on the show, because it's very significant when he asked the reporter to turn off the camera, and then he starts speaking about his plans for the Palestinians. This was years ago. I think Bibi Netanyahu is a monster, and I think the people that are still standing by him and supporting him, I wouldn't want to have that on my conscience.
Let's turn to the Palestinians.
Freedom of speech is being taken away.
Yep, it is. It's being taken away. Better wake up. And pay attention. And hit the like button while you're at it. The tea is hot, baby.
Been appallingly oppressed for many decades. I've made no secret of that. But what Hamas did on behalf of the Palestinian people on October the 7th was an utterly heinous terrorist attack.
Absolutely. No question about it.
So my question would be, let's go back to October the 8th. What should have been Israel's response to that, given the scale of it?
Well, first and foremost, there had to be a response. And we know that the IDF is very capable of a surgical tactical response because they've done it over the years plenty of times in which they're able to take out terrorists. We just watched them execute a beeper attack and hit out Hamas terrorists. So this
I think it's a very relevant point, because if they could do that to 3,000 Hezbollah terrorists, why couldn't they be as precise with Hamas?
Because they don't want to be. They want to level it because they want to take it over. And I believe, and you can see this, by the way, in the videos of the settlers dancing. I mean, why do they have settlers already ready? Doesn't that seem strange that this quickly you already have settlers that are going in and taking over the territory, and you're hanging, children's toys?
But what should Israel have done, though? What would have been?
They should have just taken out the Hamas terrorists.
How do you do that when they're embedded amongst civilians?
Listen, I'm not an IDF minister, but what I can say is, going back to that beeper attack, it seems pretty precise. And there have been many examples of them doing that in the past. So I just don't buy the BS of we actually just have to take down entire towers and buildings. It doesn't even make sense. I mean, I'm not an engineering major, but if you're telling me that there's a tunnel under everywhere, you only have to hit a tunnel at a couple of points to render it completely useless. So the idea that they had to level the entire place plus go out into refugee camps doesn't make any sense. Like I said, I think their goal, and as they do, they have all these policies mowing the lawn, where they kill a certain amount of Palestinians every year. This is genocidal. The aims here are genocidal.
Your father-in-law, very highly well-regarded man in this country, Lord Michael Farmer, said the Israeli Defense Forces were acting in a highly accountable way in an extremely complex and difficult environment. We cannot forget that they have been forced to prosecute this war. Obviously, a different interpretation of events there. Have you discussed this with him?
Yeah, I mean, I try to separate my politics from his politics because I think it's unfair in any family to say, well, what does your mom think? What does your cousin think? What does my sister think? My sister's a Democrat, What I can say is I deeply respect him. He's done a tremendous amount of work. And I want to say this. I was on the Zionist side. Let's not forget this. For years, I worked for Prager University. I worked for Daily Wire. And so I was much more sympathetic to, I would say, the Zionist cause throughout my entire career. But the difference is, and I think we spoke about this on my podcast, generationally, with the access of social media, being able to see these things every day versus the person who, as you described it, as you are still, because you're kind of a combo, who hears the thud of the newspaper and reads the newspaper and believes that, or, this kind of becomes or colors their worldview, is very different. Social media completely transformed my perspective on what's happening in Israel and Palestine. And I'm disgusted with myself for not being more awake.
Okay, but that's interesting, because can social media also, can it wrongly skew a narrative? In other words, can it reinforce one view, which is very quickly established? I mean, I was astonished how quickly the narrative after October the 7th became anti-Israel and very pro-Palestinians stroke Hamas in many cases. I found that quite terrifying that was the case, notwithstanding my own view about how Palestinians have been treated before that. But could it be, I mean, you're a very smart person, but you say that you were affected by social media. Social media was incredibly partisan behind the Palestinians almost immediately, to the extent where I would argue, looking back at the whole time, that I've argued persistently, well, what would be proportionate? I can't think of anything Israel could have done, given that Hamas were embedding themselves amongst civilians. I don't know how they could have attacked Hamas without being criticized, whatever they did.
They would have been criticized, but not to this degree. Everyone was expecting a response, and myself included. We're, like you said, and we agree on this, we're way past that. So that's not even a question anymore. There had to have been a response, and you are correct that no matter what, the response would have been criticized. But now there are questions about whether or not, like I said, they allowed this attack to happen, and I think this corruption trial will tell us much more. My instincts are telling me yes, but to go back to your question about whether or not social media can color you the wrong way, for the first time ever, we were just able to see what was happening in Palestine. Before, we just had to rely on legacy media, who has to...
Did you believe all you were seeing?
When I first saw it, I kind of wanted to wait. I was trying to just sort through everything.
Because I'm still not sure all the stuff I see is right.
Well,
it's very
some
hard
of it, but I'm now getting my information because I ended up signing up for Haaretz in Israeli newspapers because they're protesting it. They're calling this an ethnic
No, I
cleansing.
read their stuff all the time, yeah.
If Israeli newspapers are calling this an ethnic cleansing, why do we not have people in the Western media that have the courage to call it the same? It's clearly not anti-Semitism. Why on earth would Haaretz media or a Haaretz Israeli newspaper be anti-Semitic and want to see the undoing of Jews? Again, this goes back to AIPAC and back to lobbying. But to answer your question, that piqued my curiosity, and I couldn't believe that essentially everything that I had these presets to believe about Jews, everything was existential. Again, that sort of Holocaust upbringing in my mind culturally, seeing so many Holocaust movies, I kind of had these factory settings where I instantly always wanted to see Jewish people as the victim. And it was very hard for me to kind of shed that and to...
But a lot of Jewish people were victims here too.
Correct, but what I'm saying is my factory...
So it's not wrong for them to play the victim if they're genuinely being victims.
If they're genuinely being victims, correct. But when I say my factory settings, what I mean is that the second a Jewish person got a circle about anything, I just assumed they were telling the truth and were the victims. I'm just kind of going back and assessing my own character flaws. I got this wrong in my political career. What you should do is not have these factory settings and actually examine the facts, right? And so when I started to do that, what I started noticing was I wasn't even allowed to ask a question. So I'd see something and then I'd say, well, what is this? And then suddenly it was anti-Semitism. And that right there to me signals you're not telling me the truth because you shouldn't have to do that, right? Nobody is going to side.
I think that works in almost every single...
That manipulation, once you understand and recognize manipulation, that deflection of manipulation is an eye-opener, and it is a gut, intuitive feeling that something is wrong and you lying. You don't want me to know the truth, and you're deceiving me. I get it. Definitely a red flag.
Well, what is this? And then suddenly it was anti-Semitism. And that right there to me signals you're not telling me the truth because you shouldn't have to do that, right? Nobody is going to side.
I think that works in almost every single debate in the world right now. I see it the other way around, where you get being accused of being an Islamophobe if you dare to criticize anything on the Palestinian side, even if a lot of the stuff that's been going on is worthy of criticism.
I haven't seen that, and I say this as someone who was deeply critical of people that were Islamic throughout my entire career, because again, I jumped into politics and there's a certain perspective that you're supposed to have in America about Zionism, and you're supposed to kind of marry yourself to it. And despite all of the things that I now kind of blush when I look back on, that I sort of had those factory settings, they never kind of just like routinely dismissed me. They just kind of were like, well, she's bought and paid for, never called me an Islamophobe, whatever it is. I just want to be fair, and I want to be fair. If something happened tomorrow and in an elite place in America and a bunch of Jews were killed and targeted, I want to stand on my platform and say what is happening to Jewish people is wrong. I'm not married to hating Jews because I think what Bibi Netanyahu...
What do you mean bought and paid for?
Side, even if a lot of the stuff that's been going on is worthy of criticism.
I haven't seen that, and I say this as someone who was deeply critical of people that were Islamic throughout my entire career, because again, I jumped into politics and there's a certain perspective that you're supposed to have in America about Zionism, and you're supposed to kind of marry yourself to it. And despite all of the things that I now kind of blush when I look back on, that I sort of had those factory settings, they never kind of just like routinely dismissed me. They just kind of were like, well, she's bought and paid for, never called me an Islamophobe, whatever it is. I just want to be fair, and I want to be fair. If something happened tomorrow and in an elite place in America and a bunch of Jews were killed and targeted, I want to stand on my platform and say what is happening to Jewish people is wrong. I'm not married to hating Jews because I think what Bibi Netanyahu is doing is wrong. It has nothing to do with the Jewish people at large. This is a foreign state. He's allowed to be criticized in the same way that I criticize Biden, in the same way that you can criticize Trump. I'm criticizing Bibi Netanyahu, and I think the ICC got it correct in pursuing an arrest against him.
Do you think Hamas are a terrorist organization?
Absolutely.
You do?
If you kill civilians, you're a terrorist organization. That was always very clear.
So could they play any part in the government after all this, in your view?
I would really struggle to see how that would be a plausibility.
Let's turn to Syria, because interestingly, you said the fall of Bashar al-Assad is not a good thing.
No.
Why?
Well, just kind of going backwards, and I also want to be careful here because I try not to be an expert on things that I don't know. I think what Bibi Netanyahu is doing is wrong. It has nothing to do with the Jewish people at large. This is a foreign state. He's allowed to be criticized in the same way that I criticize Biden, things that I now kind of blush when I look back on, that I sort of had those factory settings. They never kind of just like routinely dismissed me. They just kind of were like, well, she's bought and paid for, never called me an Islamophobe, whatever it is. I just want to be fair. And I want to be fair. If something happened tomorrow and in an elite place in America and a bunch of Jews were killed and targeted, I want to stand on my platform and say what is happening to Jewish people is wrong. I'm not married to hating Jews because I think what Bibi Netanyahu is doing is wrong. It has nothing to do with the Jewish people at large. This is a foreign state. He's allowed to be criticized in the same way that I criticize Biden, in the same way that you can criticize Trump. I'm criticizing Bibi Netanyahu, and I think the ICC got it correct in pursuing an arrest against him.
Do you think Hamas are terrorist organization?
Absolutely.
You do?
If you kill civilians, you're a terrorist organization. That was always very clear.
So could they play any part in the government after all this, in your view?
I would really struggle to see how that would be a plausibility.
Let's turn to Syria, because interestingly, you said the fall of Bashar al-Assad is not a good thing.
No.
Oh wow, this is very interesting. Kind of help us understand why she is so intense, why their lives were endangered, and why she is also getting why they didn't want Charlie to have her at turning point, and why the denouncing of Israel was so deadly. Does it make sense to y'all? T-Sippers, y'all still with me? Lord, I ain't even check. Are y'all still with me, or am I spinning? Can y'all hear me? Can I get some ones or a thumb up, please? I'm so into it, I haven't even checked. Okay, hold on. Y'all maybe... Are y'all still with me?
Why?
Well, just kind of going backwards, and I also want to be careful here because I try not to be an expert on things that I don't know enough about, and that's why I usually have people on my show. I had on Scott Horton, who's way deeper on the topic of Syria.
I had him on last week.
He is. Yeah, he's super.
I actually had him on with a top American general, and it was a fascinating debate because they agreed about a lot more than I think they thought they would agree about.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. Actually, when you have a civilized conversation between two people you think are implacably opposed, actually often they find a lot of common ground if they're fair-minded.
Exactly. And so I always say, I like to take time, and I view my show as a place where people can come and learn along with me. I'm not a snob. I don't pretend that I know everything, and I have the humility to admit when I've gotten things wrong and to adjust my opinions. You know, on the topic of Syria, it has been pretty clear to me and everyone, I'm grateful that J.D. Vance even said it, that this was going to result in the mass killing of Christians. It just seems...
But that hasn't been happening yet. So it's interesting. There's not been a persecution of Christians so far since the toppling of al-Assad. In fact, what you're seeing is a lot of the forewarnings that XYZ would happen. They're not happening yet. Now, it's way too early to say they're not going to happen. But certainly what is fascinating to me is the interplay of what's happening in Syria. You've got this guy who used to be one of the Al-Qaeda commanders, and he's clearly, in his rhetoric, been moving to a much more moderate position in the last few years. Now he's taken charge, and he's continued to sound and speak like a moderate, and he's not ordering the kind of retributional murders and mayhem that people may have thought he would, and that includes specifically the fact that Syrian Christians are not at the moment being subjected to any kind of apparent oppression. I mean, are you surprised and encouraged by that?
You know, to be honest with you, because I traveled over here and then I was sick for an entire week, I haven't done enough I haven't looked into the story.
You have this lurgy that I've had, right?
Yeah, exactly. I need to
hell.
stay more up to date on what's going on. But my concern is that, and even if it's not happening imminently, that a lot of Christians are about to be murdered. And listen, again, talking about the broader conversation of Israel's involvement, which I showed on my show with Scott Horton, you know, them admitting that they armed Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, all of this is just inappropriate and wrong. And you just keep calling yourselves victims, and you've been caught so many times funding rebels, you know, giving rebels weapons to pursue Israel's aims in the region. I think that our foreign policy in the West is way too tied to what Bibi Netanyahu wants, okay? And I'm happy that this conversation is happening. I'm happy that people are able to debate it. I'm happy that people like Scott Horton are given a platform to really think through these things. because in terms of America, at least, there's a major awakening happening as it pertains to our foreign policy in the Middle East.
Let's turn to some of the other big stories at the moment. The shooting of the healthcare chief executive, and in particular, the weird reaction from the left of kind of immediately moving to, well, he's a hot assassin, Luigi Mangione, when in fact he's just a cold-blooded assassin.
Classic America.
Your old friend Don Lemon said this.
Do you think it's a gay thing? Because look, maybe we are over-indexing on the gay friends in text, because all of my gay friends are like, that someone said they better not hold a trial within 50 miles of Hell's Kitchen in New York.
Yeah, I got a couple hung jury texts. I've got some texts that aren't really appropriate for the Don Lemon show, so it might just be a gay thing.
You know what I could think watching that was, really, guys, I mean, if this had been a female chief executive, would you be saying any of this stuff? If this hot assassin had executed a woman executive? I mean, no. Why are they doing this?
I have no idea why they're doing that. I have no idea why Don Lemon is still speaking. I mean, nothing that he does makes any sense anymore. So I'm not even sure what the aims of his new show are. But yeah, there have been tons of people that are commenting on his looks. Really, what it's fostering, which I think is more important, is a discussion on healthcare in general in America, which is another topic that people tend to not understand because...
Well, you seem both, interestingly, because you're married to an English guy, and we have the NHS here, the National Health Service, free for all, which is not perfect by any means, but it does mean that if you walk out here today and you fall over and break your leg, you're going to get free healthcare in this country. You're not going to have to be having someone standing over you wanting payment before they'll give you a painkiller.
Yeah.
And there's something amazing about that as a system. In America, I've had injuries, I've broken some ribs and stuff, and I remember somebody, as I was dozing in and out of consciousness, wanting to know how I'd pay for this. And it was quite scary, having been used to the NHS. That is real America, and I could afford to pay for it. But imagine if you couldn't. And, apparently some of these healthcare companies are operating at like a 30% denial rate at the moment. So a lot of people are dying because they're being denied cover.
That's exactly right. And what people don't understand is it's not a marker of a failed free market system. It's not a free market system at all. What's wrong with American healthcare is that it's a fully operating drug cartel. You're completely blindfolded. You have no idea how much anything costs. The insurance companies are making deals. You've got like the government involved. I say it's always the exact aims of the Mexican cartels were actually accomplished in America. A partnership between the government, the insurance companies, and the pharmaceutical giants. And they decide on pricing. They blindfold you. They send you in there. It's all about price gauging and seeing how much money they can make. A great example of what happens actually if you had gotten rid of these health insurance companies entirely is things become instantly more affordable. LASIK surgery being a classic example of that.
I had that.
Years ago, when the insurance companies were involved, that would cost people $40,000 per an eye. Today, the average price for both eyes is $4,500 because insurance now declines coverage. So it's people are angry about our health insurance, and that's why you're seeing some of that rhetoric where like, well, nobody cares about Brian Thompson. But even though I disagree with that rhetoric strongly, you should always condemn murder, especially cold-blooded murder, in the way that it happens. The sentiment behind it is just recognizing that people's loved ones are suffering, loved ones are dying, and it's because we do have a criminal cartel operating in broad daylight.
Daniel Penny was the other big story where he was obviously a veteran Marine, and he apprehended this guy who was going nuts on the subway, and he did a sort of chokehold restraint on him, and the guy dies. I never thought that Daniel Penny should have ever got to court. Fortunately, I felt justice was done. He's now been seen with Trump and everybody at the big football match at the weekend and so on. But what was interesting to me was, given your background with BLM, the leader of BLM in New York, Hawk Newsom, said we need some black vigilantes. People want to jump up and choke us and kill us for being loud. How about we doing the same? The framing of that as being loud, as if that was all that Jordan Neely was doing, when 9 out of 11 of the witnesses who were there at the time, including women and children, they all said it was the most terrifying experience they'd ever had on a subway. This wasn't somebody being loud. It was somebody being incredibly threatening, apparently potentially very dangerous, said he prepared to go to prison for life and didn't care if he even died in the process. That's somebody that needs apprehending to protect people, innocent people. It's not someone being noisy, which this guy then wants to flip into, well, we must take equal violent potential deadly action against people that try and stop us.
Yeah. Well, Paul Newsom, I've sat down with him twice now over the years, and I can tell you he is virulently racist towards white people. There's no question about it. He has a hatred for white people like I've never seen. And I had him on friendly terms. I was like, hey, let's just have a conversation about what it is that you believe. And right away, he's angry when he sees a white person and sort of buys into this whole victim narrative and truly is someone who believes that there is no wrong that a black person can do if a white person is there. So he's not someone that should be paid attention to, and he does these things to to get headlines. It's completely not sensible, especially for people who have young kids like I do. Daniel Penny's a hero. This is exactly what you want to take place. The only lack of justice here is the fact that he had to go through the court system at all, as opposed to have just been, thank you so much. Here's a GoFundMe. We're all raising money. I hope you live out the rest of your days as a millionaire because you stepped up and saved a bunch of people's lives.
But you know what's interesting, Candice, is excuse me, I've got you know what I've got.
I know what you've got.
The interesting thing to me has been the reaction to two things. One, the Daniel Penny case and the verdict. That despite all the efforts of people like that guy Hawke to whip everybody up into vigilante violence and mass protests, it never happened. There were no mass protests. We didn't see another George Floyd uprising of rage around the country at all. In fact, even on a tiny level, it never happened. But secondly, the attempt to portray Trump as the new Hitler, a fascist, and so on and so on, the most existential threat to democracy, blah, 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 blah. Two interesting things to me. I was at the Madison Square Garden rally. There were no protesters turned up. This is the middle of Manhattan, just before the election. The new Hitler's in town, right, with all his young new Nazis, and only 150 people turned up to protest. 50,000 Trump. The attempt to portray Trump as the new Hitler, a fascist, and so on and so on, the most existential threat to democracy, blah, 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 blah. Two interesting things to me. I was at the Madison Square Garden rally. There were no protesters turned up. This is the middle of Manhattan, just before the election. The new Hitler's in town, right, with all his young new Nazis, and only 150 people turned up to protest. 50,000 Trumpers turned up who couldn't get in, who were keen to join the party. And I remember thinking, wow, Manhattan's basically given up with this because they don't believe this bullshit. And I felt the same thing with the Jordan Neely verdict response, is that BLM movement was so damaged, really, as the longer it went on, that actually this time round people weren't having it.
Yeah.
And we've seen it in those two things, both with Trump and with this case. Really interesting lack of protest.
What we're really seeing is just like the media, the mainstream media is just a vacuum. And I go back to that Jeff Bezos piece because it was really brave what he wrote. It also, I think, took a tremendous amount of humility. I don't think it's going to make a difference in the end because we're not going backwards to legacy media. But what he said, when he said we're essentially writing these pieces, it's an echo chamber to ourselves. That's exactly what it is. And so it's funny because I almost forgot that Trump was literally Adolf Hitler for years. And now I'm anti-Semite of the year. These words don't have meaning anymore. So you have the media writing articles to themselves, the elitists, the journalists, and then you have the rest of the real world, and we kind of understand about what's happening. We want to have free speech. You want to communicate ideas. We're voting for Trump not because it's Adolf Hitler, but because we want low gas and people we're not doing well under Biden, and because we don't want a woman that's going to lecture us about why you should vote for her because she's a woman. I mean, it's really common sense is making a return.
But Trump is also, he's having, he did make that joke before years ago when he said, you're going to get tired of how much winning we're going to do. He must be getting tired of all the winning that's going on because not only did he win the White House, the Senate, the House, the popular vote, the electoral college.
They hating it now.
Off ABC over being defamed
by
George
done changed her tune.
And what was interesting to me is that was a massive blow for the legacy media to basically admit we lied about Trump and we have to give him $15 million.
Right.
And we're going to apologize. You're seeing a lot of big wins for Trump. He was Times Person of the Year, etc., etc. He rang the bell at the stock exchange, greeted like a conquering hero.
I'm not sure if you saw the news, but Fox News is claiming.
Can y'all please double tap the screen on your phone or hit the thumbs up, please? Do I need to remind y'all how to double tap the screen on your phone? It's just like, just tap it like that. I think this is great. I think this is a good one.
Stephanopoulos. And what was interesting to me is that was a massive blow for the legacy media to basically admit we lied about Trump and we have to give him $15 million.
Right.
And we're going to apologize. You're seeing a lot of big wins for Trump. He was Times Person of the Year, etc., etc. So he rang the bell at the stock exchange, greeted like a conquering hero. There's a real change in the way that Trump's victory this time around is being treated to how it was last time. I think he's kind of, well, he's won. He's defeated the people that were so intent on destroying him in such spectacular fashion. They've basically thrown the towel in.
But it wasn't that they were intent on destroying him. You know, we should really assess what the Trump win was really about, because it was something so much bigger than that. You know, when you have this man come down the escalator back in 2015, and you had him make a declaration, he said, "You are fake news. You are fake news." And nobody really knew what he was talking about. Everyone was just like, what do you, everyone was existing under the spell where we still believe
Now he
legacy
fake.
media. Couldn't believe how
Now you
crass
can't
this guy
believe
is.
none.
He was
Well,
this
you never
sexy
could, huh,
billionaire from New
John?
York who's going to call out the legacy media. And that really was the war. Even when he wasn't in office, that was the ideological and cultural war that has been being fought for a very long time. Like, are we giving the media the power to tell us what is fact and what is fiction, to destroy people at the drop of a hat, to build people up at the drop of a hat, to tell us who the new celebrities are? And so I loved thinking about this last election as like a battle between Taylor Swift type feminism and Ballerina Farm, who's quite niche, probably don't know who this is, and realizing that just like regular people won. Regular people won against the giant establishment of the mainstream media, the latte-sipping elitists on the coasts who mock them, who mock their lifestyles, who think they're backwards and racist. The symbolism of the Trump win is so much bigger, and it will take years and decades and in perpetuity for us to really nod
I do think
and understand it.
the Hollywood endorsement of politicians,
It's amazing.
which is always obviously the Democrat, whoever it is, however useless they are, Hollywood rounds around the Democrat. And on this occasion, having tried to, I mean, to me, that time in LA, I think it was in late June, where Clooney led the big rally night for Biden, and they had a big fundraiser and raised tens of millions. But you could see them all standing on that stage as Obama led away Biden, literally had to guide him off stage. And I remember thinking, none of you people, George Clooney, Barack Obama, any of them, none of them actually believe this guy should be serving another 4 years. They know he's basically gone. But they're perpetrating a lie to the public because they'd rather do that than admit the truth.
The ultimate form of elitism.
And then when they flipped in Kamala Harris, it was exactly the same thing. It's like, we know best, we're going to just crown her, and then she will win because she's not Donald Trump. And they've all been made to look spectacularly powerless, interestingly. And they must all be looking at themselves in the mirror going, wow, what the hell just happened? Nothing we said made any difference.
And now what are they going to do? Right. That's what's interesting, is this kind of forecast, okay? They can't do it again. We can't do a Taylor Swift post. We can't do a George Clooney post. We can't do a Beyonce.
No, we've done it all.
We can't do J-Lo crying. I mean, if celebrities could win an election, this was it, right?
Yeah. Yes.
This was the Super Bowl. They all came out. They all did their thing. They brought Eminem back from the dead.
Choosing internet shouldn't be confused.
I think we're almost finished with this one. Then I'm gonna get to.
What are the Democrats doing?
Yes.
Are they going to have to speak to us?
The
Oh, no.
last
Are they going to have
one.
to come down and actually learn about Joe who drives a truck and the people who touch their own door handles and the farmers and the ranchers? God forbid. Are they going to have to learn about the rest of America that happens outside of Los Angeles and New York City?
And then you hear all the stories about Oprah's production company helped stage one of the big sort of on-stage things she did with Kamala Harris. Then you hear that Beyonce may have been paid. She denies it, but who knows? There's a lot of stuff going on here where it looks like not only are they preaching to everybody, but they might also be feathering their nests at the same time.
Of course. This is
Out
how
of
they
the
think.
system, right?
Yeah, so he killed Hollywood. He killed politics. He killed all these necessary deaths that needed to happen so we could go back to fostering conversations and having an authentic understanding of one another.
Well, actually, I would say he didn't kill Hollywood. What he's done, he's put Hollywood back into the box of Hollywood. And what's interesting now for all these big movie stars is, well, more than half the country voted for Trump. If you're going to carry on hammering Trump in the way you'd like to, because that's all you know, then actually a lot of the people that might want to come to your movies are not going to come. Right? You're going to commit acts of self-harm. Now, knowing the egos that are at play in Hollywood, in the movie profession in particular, they're not going to do that. You're going to see them all go very quiet about Trump. There'll be no more of these award shows where they queue up one after another to insult Trump, insult his supporters and so on. They're going to start doing exactly what the tech bros have all started doing. They're going to be starting to kiss the ring, right? Or keeping quiet. So, you know, you're going to see them. We've seen Tim Cook's gone down to Mar-a-Lago. We've seen Jeff Bezos, all these guys, right? They've all worked it out, which is actually the majority of Americans now are with this guy. And you're on the train or you're screwed.
Yeah, or you're going to get run over by the train, yeah.
So it's almost like Hollywood will continue, but I just...
Okay, it's time to move on. What time is it? Yeah, it's almost 2. Let me get to the last one. Please, please, please. While I'm shifting to Eric Trump. Oh, what is that? Please, double tap the screen. Get the likes up. This is gonna be our last go round for today or tonight or however we gonna put it. What was that one?
About making things better, okay?
I'm just gonna come in right here. Oh.
And makes everything about us and them, and you must pick a side and stick to it no matter what the facts are, and you're not interested in those anyway.
Okay.
When will somebody be about making Israel dynamic? And that's the problem. There is today. Would you be equally outraged if it were AOC who was tapped? If it were Schumer? I don't think so. And that's the problem. There is no...
Y'all still with me? Can y'all give me a thumbs up or a 1 to let me know if y'all still with me, if y'all still want me to go on? We've been in 1 hour and 36 minutes. Y'all want me to go on and get this on out the way? What we doing? What we doing? What we doing? I'm letting y'all drive. Mystery, hey, mystery of 7. Okay, let's go, y'all. Thank you, John, and mystery of 7.
Unless it brings an advantage of one side against the other. This is what has toxified the Israel dynamic in the Middle East. This is what corrupts our system and makes everything about us and them, and you must pick a side and stick to it no matter what the facts are, and you're not interested in those anyway. When will somebody be about making things better? Okay? Now, again, if you believe that the AG was playing to an audience of 1, man, the audience could not have been happy today, because the President of the United States had to listen to the Attorney General refuse to answer a question that should have a very easy answer. That's what the President signed up for. Now, a more interesting question to me is, the family is forced to sign up when somebody decides to run for office. I know this. I lived it. And that's why I have always been very arm's length, even though they're adults, with Trump's family, because I know what it's like to be family of someone who's running and going through the crucible of politics, though I have never seen anybody deal with what Trump has, for better or for worse. So his son Eric now has a book out about this called Under Siege: My Family's Fight to Save Our Nation. I wanted to talk to him about his book and how he sees it, and he joins me now. Thank you for taking the opportunity.
Chris, good to be back on.
Michelob Ultra Zero.
Now we know that this is Trump's son, and he done got in trouble with doing some bogus stuff. The last administration that his daddy was in, and he is really good friends, or he was really good friends of Charlie Kirk. Let's listen.
What motivated you to write this book? What do you want people to know?
Well, I want people to understand the true intention of the siege. I mean, I disagree with some of the things you said in the opening monologue, but listen, you were crucified as a family. This is where we'll agree. You were crucified as a family just as we were crucified as a family.
Oh, my Lord. He is his daddy's child. And he is as sensitive right off the bat as his daddy. Lord have mercy. He done planted that seed.
My father went down that escalator, and they didn't wait 12 minutes. The Washington Post wrote an article 12 minutes later. This is when the impeachment of Donald Trump began. They impeached my father not just the first time, they impeached him the second time. They made up the dirty dossier. You covered it well for a very long time. You know the slanderous lies that they put in there. I was the guy getting the call from the FBI and everybody else saying, I hear you have secret servers in the basement of Trump Tower communicating with the Kremlin. You know, CNN, and you were part of it at the time, they were relentless in accusing us of literally Russia collusion, which was totally false. We had nothing to do with Russia. They weaponized every AG. They weaponized every single DA in the country. Letitia James, you know her very well because she went after your brother and she went after your entire family. Yeah, Alvin Bragg.
Why do people always gotta have co-signers? They need for you to go along with them. This is so is your book about him? Come on.
Jack Smith, who was planting classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, they were raiding our houses. They were raiding Melania's room. They were raiding Barron's room. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history. I've never gotten so much as a traffic ticket because I happened to run the Trump organization and I didn't have the same congressional and executive branch protections that my father did. They took him off the ballot in Colorado. They took him off the ballot in Maine. They took us off of Twitter. They took us off of Facebook. They took us off of Instagram. I 91 indictments, right? I mean, how many gag orders were there in that period of time? And then after all of that was done, they tried to kill him. They tried to kill him in
Okay, I just had to slow down. Oh my God.
Pennsylvania, and then they tried to kill him again at a golf course, and then you saw exactly what happened with Charlie Kirk last week, where I lost a good friend, somebody I'd been on that stage with 100 times. They put our family, they put my father, they put me under siege. They put this nation under siege with their garbage and their games. Also,
so you say Charlie is your best or a good friend of yours, and you know, I know, and everybody else know it was y'all who set him up and sacrificed him. But I will say, y'all are good friends and you've been on the stage with him. I can tell y'all debate techniques are similar. The fast talk, the over talk, the real Yeah. Either you taught him or he taught you. And it was probably you who taught him. Yeah, because you had gotten in trouble before. And the FBI was already on you. See? Yeah. Yeah, so you taught him. He was your replacement. He was your replacement. Let's go. Let me...
saw exactly what happened with Charlie Kirk last week, where I lost a good friend, somebody I'd been on that stage with 100 times. They tried to kill him. They tried to kill him in Butler, Pennsylvania.
100 times.
They tried to kill him again at a golf course, and then you saw exactly what happened with Charlie Kirk last week, where I lost a good friend, somebody I'd been on that stage with 100 times. They put our family, they put my father, they put me under siege. They put this nation under siege with their garbage and their games. Also, they could get a couple extra votes, and it's wrong, and the nation needs to know that, and the people watching the show needs to know what these people did, because it's illegal, it's undemocratic, and it's the last thing that should ever happen to the United States of America.
Now, as you know, and as we've talked about before, I don't test a lot of what you guys say the same way because it's your father, okay? And I'm not saying that you're full of it. I'm just saying it's an impenetrable conflict. And I get it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're right. I disagree with a lot of the things you say, but it's how we disagree that matters. Let me ask you something. Given everything you believe, why did the family want your father to run again after what had happened the first time?
Because they wanted to make our lives so miserable that we quit. And that's not who we are as a family. I believe in this country. I believe we live in the greatest nation in the world, right? It may be one thing that we can agree on. I believe in freedom of religion. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe that people shouldn't be gag ordered for voicing their opinions. I believe that people shouldn't be shot in the neck when they want to speak at college campuses. I believe in having a great economy. I believe in not having an auto pen run all of the United States government. It was incompetence what was happening. And by the way, the entire Democratic media was perpetrating it. I mean, you questioned Joe Biden's cognitive abilities, and you would get crucified. You saw what Jake Tapper did to Laura Trump. You know, she said what everybody knew and everybody was saying, and he came out and crucified her like she was a dog for saying, you know, it seemed like he was lacking his cognitive abilities. You know, they have tried to kill us at every road, and honestly, the Democratic media has become the PR firm for the Democratic Party. But unfortunately, Chris, or fortunately, the American people aren't buying it anymore. They haven't, and that's honestly why the media has faded out. It's why independent voice in this country has become so powerful. It's why Joe Rogan's doing so well. And it's why we won so decisively. We won the popular vote. We won every swing state, every state in this nation.
You did not.
To the right. We won places like Miami-Dade County by 11 points that had never been won by a Republican. I mean, literally, it's been 37 years since Miami-Dade has been won by a Republican. We won by 11 points. This nation gets it. They get exactly what these people are doing. And so we weren't going to back down. We weren't going to back down.
Hey, Lisa.
We were going to fight, and we were going to win. That's just how we've always been bred.
Do you think that it is fair to say it looks like the administration is going after its political opponents now and doing exactly what you say you oppose?
Read.
What, Comey? Because I mean, it seemed very clear to me in the congressional testimony. I don't know, just watching it, I certainly seemed like he lied to me. I mean, I'm also wondering what an FBI director is doing, taking memos from the FBI and leaking them to the New York Times. I mean, Chris, I'm a guy that hopes that the FBI director would be keeping planes from flying into buildings, you know, keeping our country safe, keeping the Western way of life safe. Instead, this guy is, you know, communicating every single day with the New York Times. I mean, I'd hope a lot better, but I find it so ironic that you're literally one that's pushing back on the weaponization of government when the very same people...
Don't his daddy tweet something every day? I mean, don't he write whole books and shit every day?
Every single day with the New York Times. I mean, I'd hope a lot better, but I find it so ironic that you're literally one that's pushing back on the weaponization of government when the very same people that were coming out...
Can't you hear Charlie? Can y'all not hear Charlie Kirk talking when he's debating? They sound exact. Their flow is the same. I mean, it's just kind of unbelievable to me.
For us, you know, went after your brother, you know, like hounds. I mean, they did everything they could to destroy his governorship. They did everything they could to destroy his life. They did everything they could to destroy you. I sat in that same seat. The only difference is my last name wasn't Cuomo. My last name was Trump. They were trying to destroy my father, and by doing that, they were trying to destroy me, and they were trying to destroy the Trump organization. They were trying to take all our assets and strip our name off of every building in New York City. You've been on the receiving end of the very same people that I've been on the receiving end of. And so to play coy with me as if this isn't happening in the United States of America just seems ironic and foolish given what you've been through more so than anybody.
Hold on a second. What did you just say that you think I'm doing? I'm asking you questions about whether or not if something is wrong, it is also wrong to do the same thing when you get back in power, which certainly happened the first time the administration came in. You went right after Biden, and I don't mean you weren't part of the administration. I'll get to you in a second in terms of what's going on right now. But if you think I'm playing coy...
He do that same thing with his daddy, with his head.
Chris, I'm not playing coy. I know what happened to me,
Chris,
Eric.
I'm
saying that what is happening now looks like what was done to you. That's why I'm asking the question.
Did we raid Biden's home? You know, did we try and bankrupt Biden? Did they come after us? Did we weaponize every AG and DA? You know, against Biden? Do we do that against Hunter Biden?
Listen, just because they don't do it exactly the way you do it don't mean that y'all didn't do things. Who do you think you playing with? You wanted to be exact. No, you can't pick and choose. You cannot pick and choose. So don't expect for it to be exactly the same way you and your daddy and y'all clan and cult did it. Stop being. Oh my God, I cannot stand it.
Who had a laptop from hell, pictures of cocaine, illicit drug use, prostitution. You know, did we do that?
Your daddy is a pedo. Do you not understand that your daddy is on the Epstein list? You know that. Your stepmother, is she your mama? Now, Ivanka, she came over illegally too. You are an immigrant. You are an immigrant. He is too. Huh? Stop it. See, y'all need the right person to check y'all. Y'all. Oh, okay.
Did they try and destroy Biden's marriage? You know, was any of that true? I mean, did we make up stories that Biden had secret servers in the basement of his home?
You made up stories.
The Kremlin in Russia. You know, did we strip Biden off the ballot of multiple states? Did we take Biden off of Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and try and silence his voice so he couldn't
he was using it for the wrong reason.
In the courtroom every single day. 91 felony counts that have all been overturned for my father now.
Not all. Boy, stop lying. Oh, you lie just like your daddy.
You know, did we do any of that? And the answer is no. I mean,
no, the answer is yes.
And Republicans want to prosecute him. Okay, then you know how many people they went after for perjury? You know, in my father's last cabinet, they went after everybody. Even if they didn't perjure themselves, they went after them for perjury.
Eric, I get the grievance, okay? I'm not saying that. Now, did you do those things? No, that's what was done to you. It doesn't mean that other things weren't done in retaliation.
Yes.
Now to balance it out. I mean, today, what was happening with Jack Smith, I don't need that conversation. I don't need to go back. I need to get the Epstein files. I need to get the information. And I don't blame your father for this, by the way. Your father is not the problem on this one. It's the people around him. Who said things before and now say different things, and they're not doing what they promised to do. That's that issue for me. Why I'm asking you this, Eric, and I get why you're pissed off. It would be weird if you weren't. It's that when does anybody try to be better instead of just proving that the other
They don't
side
know
is
how to
worse
do that.
every time they get into power?
He moved his head just like his daddy.
The division.
I bet you it's heavy.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, I think that's a great argument unless you go back to 2017, of course. I mean, my father could have thrown Hillary Clinton in jail. She deleted 33,000 emails, went under, congressional, subpoena, and she laughed about it. Oh, ha ha ha! We're using bleach bit. I mean, my father thought it would be totally inappropriate to do that to the first lady, a former first lady of the United States, somebody that was Secretary of State. You know, he wasn't given 12 minutes. Again, I go back to the Washington Post argument. This is when the impeachment of Donald Trump begins. 12 minutes after his hand came off the Bible.
Y'all listen.
On January 20th.
If I tragically pass away, and we up there, we kind of well-to-do. Please don't come back at real quick like ain't nothing happened. Cause he said this was a week after Charlie was assassinated. And if folk come back real quick, know that they had something to do with taking me out. I'm just sorry. You got all of this in you, and a really good friend of yours just got assassinated, and you supposed to be acting like you really mourning? Nah, dog, I ain't buying it. Let's go.
2017, and that's when the game started. Again, the whole Russia collusion narrative was made up.
It wasn't made up.
With it for 3 years. I spent
Putin said he helped you.
$400 million defending our company against something that was made up and paid for by Hillary Clinton. Yet my father let all of it go. He didn't go after her. He didn't try. And you know what? They didn't go after him until he decided he wanted to run again, in which case they tried to imprison.
He tried and messed around and woke up that Epstein file. Yeah. Yeah, he was trying to get his lick back on the cool. Did you forget, Erica? Yeah. Did you forget? That's how the Epstein situation came back up while y'all running around talking about, well, what did Biden do? I mean, it's been under 3 or 4 administrations. No, but no. Your daddy. Yeah. He brought it back. They trying hard now. Release the Epstein files. Exactly. How the hell you writing a book and the files ain't been released? You want us to stop asking about the Epstein files and read your book? The devil is a lie. Yeah. No.
In him, in which case they dragged him through every court in the country, whether it's Fulton County, whether it's in New York City, you know the cases very well, whether it's the Southern District of Florida, whether it's Washington, D.C., whether it was Robert Mueller, whether it was Jack Smith. I mean, Jack Smith claimed that he raided Mar-a-Lago because of NARA, National Archives. Does anybody actually believe you have 30 agents that raided Mar-a-Lago because of the National Archives, a glorified library? Chris, I was the guy that got the call from my team that day because they all work for me at Mar-a-Lago saying, sir, there's 30 FBI agents here with a search warrant, right? You know, and they're demanding that immediately you turn off all security cameras. Why did the FBI want all our security cameras gone at his home? You know, why? Can you answer that? Why did Jack Smith plant classified manila folders and take photo shoots on the floor of my father's office? Why?
The same reason y'all haven't released the Epstein files. Why haven't y'all released the Epstein files? Why? Okay, so when y'all can answer why y'all have not released the full Epstein files, then we'll answer why they wanted y'all to turn them cameras off. That's I mean, that's real quick and easy. But you need to tell us why y'all haven't released the files. And y'all got a green light from the judges. 3 of them. Yeah, we'll wait.
And that's what Under Siege talks about. That's the weaponization of government. And they weaponized it from Biden to Merrick Garland all the way down. They weaponized it against us, and they sure as hell weaponized it against you.
Well, look, again, it doesn't matter what happened to me. You're the story. Your family's the story.
It does. It's the same government. It matters because
I see it differently. I really
Chris,
do.
It matters because this is the United States of America.
Oh my God!
Our government should be working on behalf of the people.
I get
not
it.
attacking political
Eric,
enemies.
I don't
because
disagree.
your
Do you know your daddy's not working for the people? Do he know what his daddy do every day? Do he know his daddy is not working for the people? What is really going on? Do you know that your daddy is Israel first? The fake Israel. Yeah. Do you not know that? Sure you do. You playing in our face. Yeah.
Governor,
I just think it's not happening now.
You were the brother of a governor.
I just think it's not happening now either. I don't. Now, is it the same?
It's not happening with your daddy.
That's not what matters to me. I just have big concerns.
You see that head tilt to the side, y'all? Y'all see that head tilt to the side like his daddy? That mean he ain't trying to hear what Trump do that. He ain't trying to hear what you talking about. So, Eric, when he said, I see it now. I see it now with y'all. That head tilted. It kind of got stuck. Watch.
See it differently. I really
Chris,
do.
It matters because this is the United States of America, where our government should be working on behalf of the people.
Watch this.
Not attacking political
Eric,
enemies
I don't
because your
disagree
brother
with that.
was
Watch
a
this.
governor and
Eric,
somebody
I
else
don't
wanted to
disagree
be a
with that.
governor.
I just
or
think
because
it's
you
not
were
happening
the
now
brother
either.
of a governor.
I just think it's not happening now either.
Watch this.
I don't. Now, is it the same? Is it better? Is it worse? That's not what matters to me. I just have big concerns that nobody is trying to make it better.
He ain't trying to hear that,
It's
y'all.
one thing for you to be pissed off. You're a son. I get it. My question for you is, you know what the climate is. Why would you put yourself
He ain't trying to hear that.
where you get involved with crypto and have the UAE as one of your big customers, and then they get AI clearance for chips from the U.S. government? You know how that's going to look. You know.
Sorry.
They get AI clearance for chips from the U.S. government. You know how that's going to look. You know what's going to happen.
That can't be a serious question. I mean,
But
Chris,
Eric, why put your family
Chris,
in the position? That's all I'm asking. It's a legitimate question.
Chris, I got involved with crypto because I was deplatformed from every bank in the country. Capital One called me in the middle of the night and said, congratulations, we're shutting down 300 of your bank accounts. And so did JP Morgan Chase, and so did Make America. You know why? Because we wore a hat that said, Make America Great Again.
Why do you need 300 bank accounts? Why do you need 300 bank accounts? You gotta be funneling money. 300 bank accounts from one bank and some from another. Oh yeah, y'all funneling.
Shutting down 300 of your bank accounts. And so did JP Morgan Chase, and so did Make America. You know why? Because we wore a hat that said, Make America Great Again. Because we happened to be Republicans and they didn't like it, we lost the ability to conduct business with a great company. These are golf courses, they're residential buildings. You know our assets. You've been to so many of them. I've seen you at so many of them. They tried to destroy our company. And you know what? Crypto was the only answer for us, right? We got into crypto, and then we realized how antiquated, you know, the modern financial system was, how slow it was, how punitive it was, how they debanked half of the conservatives in this country. If they didn't like you, they debanked you. They froze your bank accounts for no reason whatsoever. It's illegal, it's undemocratic, it's un-American. That's how I found crypto. And you know when I found crypto? I found crypto when I was sitting in those cold courtrooms, sitting next to my father, right, with no other choices, when everybody else, including yourself, thought we had no chance of ever winning the White House again. That's when I found crypto. And then all of a sudden it becomes a big deal that I become, you know, a vocal advocate for an industry that can't be weaponized because it's on blockchain, that can't, you know, discriminate people for a whole host of reasons, as modern day banks were doing to half of this nation. You know, I had no other choice but to find crypto because the Biden administration was calling the big banks and saying, hey, you better not bank the Trump organization, because if you bank those golf courses, if you bank those great hotels, you know, we're going to look unfair.
How about your daddy lost in that suit? That's why y'all mad at Letitia James, because they figured out that y'all was swindling and embezzling money, moving money in them 300 per bank accounts. Bank of America, JP Morgan, Chase, yeah, all of that. That's why. Yeah, and once they did the math, y'all had been milking 500 million. So stop lying. It wasn't Yeah. That's why your mama buried on the golf course. Stop lying. Y'all always blaming somebody. Y'all crooked.
Favorably at you. That's exactly what was happening. That was all part of the weaponization. That's all part of how they put our family under siege.
I understand that, and it's noted, and the audience gets to hear it and process it. What I'm saying is, having the UAE come in that way and as big as they did, as a customer, not an investor, but as a customer, with their relationship with the United States, you have
That's
to
why they trying to find something with it. Ain't that man? Ain't that man? Ain't that man? Ain't that man? Do y'all remember last week, a week before, when these Qatar people, that man walked up to Trump and showed him something on that paper, and he was showing him them pictures, and he was being blackmailed. That man was laughing at him. Ain't that man? He had on a red, wig protector. Ain't that him? And they was laughing at him. And Trump was trying to take them papers out that man's hand and put them in his pocket. Now he can build an Air Force in Utah. Don't make me go back in the archives.
I get why you need crypto as an investment strategy. I understand.
Ain't that them people?
That
one right there.
Honestly, we needed it for payment rails. I mean, investment strategy, sure, but we need it as payment rails. I mean, I have 10,000 employees around the world that I couldn't pay because Capital One decided to be vindictive because my father was a Republican, right? Like I got
Bam,
forced
there we
into it. I
go.
would have never found crypto.
See how that happened? Do y'all remember? I just showed this the other day. And that little old round man was laughing, showing it that they had something to blackmail him. Trump, oh man, y'all sleep. Y'all gotta be asleep.
That's what I'm asking. I get why you needed crypto as an investment strategy. I understand your answer. I'm asking
It wasn't an
something
investment
else.
strategy. It was honestly, we needed it for payment rails. I mean, an investment strategy, sure, but we needed it as payment rails. I mean, I have 10,000 employees around the world that I couldn't pay because Capital One decided to be vindictive because my father was a Republican, right? Like I got forced into it. I would have never found crypto had it not been for the vindictive actions.
But aren't you worth more money now than ever before because of it?
Adobe Acrobat Studio is all new. What can PDF Spaces with AI do? Do a sales invoice good enough to eat? Adobe.
So what you complaining for if you worth more now?
Express brings the heat.
I mean, crypto has been the fastest growing asset probably on the planet over the last 5-year period of time. And so, yes, in a certain way, they did us a great, I mean, I would have never found an industry that I've absolutely fallen in love with had it not been, I would have been still a hard asset guy. Now I'm a hard asset guy who believes in digital assets more so than anybody because, again, I understand how banks can be corrupted, as does all of America. I understand how punitive banks can be. I understand how slow it is. I mean, Chris, not to go into my business side of my life, I mean, we're talking about politics here, but I mean, every single week I'm waiting for a wire to come in at 5 o'clock, and if it doesn't come in by 5 o'clock,
Why are they so
the
orange
Swift
up
system, which is
there,
slow as
but
hell,
not
it's
over
antiquated,
here?
it hasn't changed in 30 years, it's expensive. You're not getting, that payment, or I'm not being able to send out a payment, and I run a lot of big hotels and big properties. This is pertinent to my life. Until the following Monday. What kind of finance is that? Why isn't finance 24/7?
Listen, I'm not arguing about the system. Scaramucci talks to me all about it all the time. I get it. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm just saying, given
He
your
refused to answer what the man is talking about. Every time Chris asked him something, tight mouth, go somewhere else. Why can't you just answer the questions? You just like your daddy. You deflection. And I am convinced you taught Charlie how to debate. Y'all debate just alike. Y'all manipulated just alike. Fast talk, manipulate.
Coming after you. And I'm not saying that you're wrong to be sensitive to it, right? Having the UAE come in that way and then they get the AI chips, you had to know it was going to be a problem.
Do you really believe, I mean, knowing me as long as you have, do you think I have anything to do with Washington, D.C.? I mean, I stay as far the hell away from Washington, D.C. as humanly possible, right? And my father has nothing to do with our company. And you think I'm really tracking AI chips that are flowing to, where in the UAE? I mean, the UAE is one of the biggest crypto markets in the world, right?
Yeah, I think you do.
South America.
Yes, I do. I think you do.
Becoming a massive one. I mean, crypto is the fastest growing industry probably in the world. So you mean to tell me you're really trying to click?
Because your daddy make them foreigners buy into it in order to get deals and assistance. So again, he is using the U.S. to make money. Yeah.
Connect the dots between some chips that I would know absolutely nothing about, nor would I ever care about, to a crypto company started well before my father. You guys even gave him a chance of winning when we were in a. I mean, give me a break. It is. I never saw anybody making the great connection between Hunter Biden, who was selling finger paintings to foreign countries all over the world. He became a world-class artist overnight, right? As soon as his father became commander-in-chief. You know, how about every single entity that he had? They had dozens and dozens of these shell companies,
but Eric,
all
I'm not
interconnected.
comparing you to Hunter Biden.
Give me a break.
and
I mean,
I'm not
Chris,
comparing you to Hunter Biden, but let's be honest. I mean, he did what is not unusual in politics, which is trade off his name, right? And he made like what, 10, 11 million dollars.
The same
over a
way
bunch
you
of
traded
years.
off
It
yours.
was examined like crazy, and I thought it was way out of proportion compared to what is acceptable within Trump world, and I thought how he was treated as an addict was disgusting. But that's our politics. I'm not arguing that it's not bad. I'm arguing how it gets better.
If I had naked pictures of prostitution and
He still can't
illicit
get it,
drugs
y'all.
And,
I
you know,
wouldn't use
vendors
them.
and
I wouldn't use them.
vendors and
I
vendors
wouldn't
and
use them.
bathtubs, did illegal things
I
about
wouldn't
lying
use them.
on gun forms, 44
I wouldn't use them.
77s. And so you'd have no problem. So if I decided right now, Chris, you know, I became a
Okay,
world-class
so
artist.
do y'all really think that this man cares anything about Charlie Kirk? Do y'all really think he cares about Charlie Kirk? He is just like his daddy. Just like him.
As we're sitting here, I just became a world-class artist. And I decided to start selling my finger paintings to foreign nationals just to get the record straight. You're totally fine with that? Versus
No. I said that I'm okay with your life. I'm okay with your personal life.
You know our assets around
Eric,
the world.
No, it's not what I'm saying. Hold on. You're going too fast for me. I'm saying I don't care what happens in your personal life. I hope you're healthy. I hope your kids are okay. I'm saying whatever you do, you do. You decide to run for office. You're stupid enough to do that, then you're asking for the scrutiny. Whether it's fair or unfair, that's what you sign up for. I'm saying that Biden was dragged. And he was dragged because you guys were dragged. What I'm saying is, does this ever get better? Or do you think it's just circling to the bottom? This is what it's going to be forever.
He wasn't dragged. He wasn't
he
dragged.
was.
One thousandth of the way we were dragged. Chris,
But it was both wrong. It was both wrong,
the
Eric.
guy
That's what I'm
couldn't
saying.
put together a coherent sentence.
He's
and
an
yet
addict. He's an
Well,
addict.
I know you were talking about. I thought you were talking about Joe. I mean, obviously,
He had trouble putting together sentences too. He's old though.
Hey, let's go to Hunter for a second. I mean, this is a guy who's marrying his deceased brother's wife. This is a guy who's taking illicit drugs in bathtubs with vendors.
I understand, Eric, but who cares?
Do you not know? Did you forget that your daddy is on the Epstein file? He's a pedo? None of who Hunter is married is worse than your daddy. None of it. So while you try to slang dirt, when them files come out and we slang dirt on your daddy, stepmama, sister, and your brother-in-law, you remember you were slanging the dirt first. Remember that, Erica.
Regard for the rule of law, as Democrats don't, right? You know, hence illegal immigration and everything else that they're fine with. Then that's fine. I mean, I was always, raised by a father who said, no drinking, no drugs, no smoking. You better get good grades. Don't have a laptop from hell. Don't have pictures of prostitution on your, on your.
I know, but Eric,
laptops. Give me a break.
Eric,
the guy got the greatest pass in the history of the world.
You're
And by the way,
making this
his
a
father,
competition
his
between
father got an
you
even
and Hunter
bigger pass.
Biden. That's not what I'm talking about. Here's what I'm
There is
talking
no
about.
competition in that
Eric,
regard.
Look at
I'm
him.
saying that shouldn't
Oh,
be the
I
conversation. The
cannot
conversation is,
deal
I
with a
understand
overly
why you're
sensitive
pissed
man
about
like
what
this.
you
It don't
see
matter
your
how much
family
money
having
you
gone
got.
through, okay?
You
I get
got
it.
some
That's why I invited you on.
insecurities.
What I want to know is,
They don't know how
a
to.
little here, and I'm excited to announce it.
They don't know how to be better. That's all they know. That's all they know. And he has marked his kids.
okay? I get it. That's why I invited you on. What I want to know is, what do you think about the prospect of where we are headed? It does not seem to
You
be
can't
any
be
better.
what,
Like we saw
though?
today with bonding. It doesn't
Daddy
seem like it's
forgot
getting better. It seems like it's getting
to
worse.
give Junior
And I am worried
the
about
no
where it
drugs
Can I
goes.
spell out utopia? Because I'd love to.
Oh my
Right?
God.
Our family did not get into politics because it was going to make our life better. We certainly, I mean, I spent $400
Well,
million
then stop whining.
against garbage.
Stop
And it
whining.
cost us more money than you can possibly imagine. I've taken more arrows in my back than you could have ever imagined. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history for having never done anything wrong. I would love a country where we focused on the greatest American flag in the world, the red, white, and blue, our
Oh my
Constitution,
God.
freedom of speech, freedom of religion, First Amendment rights in this country, where we focused on having the greatest educational system in the world, where we had the strongest military, where we had peace on earth, where we had the lowest taxes, where we had the American dream, the white picket fence. That's what I want, right? That's what our family tried to do when we got in there. We went down the golden escalator, and we weren't given 12 minutes before they started the attacks against us. And now all of a sudden, I have friends like Charlie Kirk. And I sat on that stage with Charlie 100 times. I've known him since he was literally 21 years old. And I'm seeing blood gush.
So we know, y'all ready? We done sat through all of this to finally hear him. Now you finna lie. So you been knowing it since he was 21. So he learned this from you. Let's go.
That's what I want, right? That's what our family tried to do when we got in there. We went down the golden escalator, and we weren't given 12 minutes before they started the attacks against us. And now all of a sudden, I have friends like Charlie Kirk. And I sat on that stage with Charlie 100 times. I've known him since he was literally 21 years old. And I'm seeing blood gushing from the front of my friend's neck as people who called us fascists are sitting dressed up in black on rooftops, shooting across college kids' heads to take out somebody who had a loud voice who was exercising.
So that all black. And so he's referencing, right? Because old boy had on blue. Dark blue. And blue jeans. So that all black is that guy that was up there with that helmet on his head that got off that plane. Okay.
Rooftops, shooting across college kids' heads to take out some. Seeing blood gushing from the front of my friend's neck as people who called us fascists against us. And now all of a sudden, I have friends like Charlie Kirk. And I sat on that stage with Charlie 100 times. I've known him since he was literally 21 years old. And I'm seeing blood gushing from the front of my friend's neck as people who called us fascists are sitting dressed up in black on rooftops, shooting across college kids' heads to take out somebody who had a loud voice who was exercising their First Amendment right. That's what's happening. The bullets aren't going the other way, Chris. The bullets are coming one way. They came at my father's head. They almost killed my father again. They killed Charlie Kirk. They killed, I mean, they obviously, what they wanted to do
Eric,
to
I'm
Kavanaugh was.
What about the people that was in Wisconsin?
I get to listen to people on these networks, you include in some of these questions saying, hey, why don't we take down the temperature? I'm the first one that wants to take down the temperature. I just want to have a prosperous
You're right,
nation,
John.
which is the only reason that we're in this fight.
No, Eric,
all while
temperature.
every single day.
I don't say take down the temperature.
We're dodging.
He can't even hear.
Hold on, literally.
He can't hear.
Bullets are being dodged. But hold on a second. First of all, I don't play any of these games, okay? I knew Charlie, not the way you did. We got along. We disagreed, but we disagreed with decency, okay? That's how I do it. I don't need to
They don't
talk
make
tough
deals
to be
with
tough,
Israel,
okay?
yes.
There is plenty of
They are
violence to go around on
pro-Israel.
the political spectrum. I do not believe one side has ownership of it. I think it's irresponsible to say otherwise. I don't like getting pictures of your father's ear sent to me by people who don't believe he was shot at. As you know, I called him. Your father is not my biggest fan, but I called him immediately when that happened and said, I am so sorry for you and the family that your grandkids had to see this. Thank God you're okay. I don't even like to think what would have happened in this country if
That was
something else had
staged.
happened. And
That
I
was
couldn't
fake.
believe how you guys were able to come through it the way you did, frankly. I don't know what I would do. I would have taken my brother, if God forbid that were him, and you would have never seen him again because I'd be so afraid. That's who I am. I can still disagree with you, but I would never want anything bad to happen to you. And I don't see a comma in that. I don't see a but in that. And I don't see it with Charlie Kirk either. I don't care what his ideas were. As soon as it becomes violence, it should be un-American. And that should be the end of it. Talk about his ideas some other day. But that's not where we are, and that's my biggest concern. It's not take down the temperature. It's we're asking for worse, Eric. That's what I believe about us in this country right now. It's going to get worse. Hey, how about this? You know who they think killed Charlie Kirk now? People on the right side of the political spectrum? Israel. That's where we are now. On October 7th,
that.
They're playing with...
He know that. He know that. Yeah. So while y'all saying to the left, to the left, to the left, to the left, we saying to the right, to the right, to the right, to the far, 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 far right, radical. Yes. And now your daddy doing business with Qatar and Utah. Foreign, just like we've been saying, a military, all black, y'all got the wrong person facing death when y'all have made business deals with foreign countries and y'all trying to he's putting foreigners on U.S. land, so when it becomes a war within the states on U.S. soil, he'll have foreigners already planted here to fight against the U.S. And he's sending troops to Israel. You better wake up. Everything he's doing is intentional. He's setting the U.S. up.
Agree with you, but I would never want anything bad to happen to you. And I don't see a comma in that. I don't see a but in that. And I don't see it with Charlie Kirk either. I don't care what his ideas were. As soon as it becomes violence, it should be un-American. And that should be the end of it. Talk about his ideas some other day. But that's not where we are, and that's my biggest concern. It's not take down the temperature. It's we're asking for worse, Eric. That's what I believe about us in this country right now. It's going to get worse. Hey, how about this? You know who they think killed Charlie Kirk now? People on the right side of the political spectrum? Israel. That's where we are now. On October 7th,
the people on the right.
Charlie Kirk's murder to sow more division about Israel. That's where we are.
Did y'all hear what he said? Did y'all catch what Chris Comey said? He said people on the right thinks that Israel did it. Their base. Check him out.
On the temperature. It's we're asking for worse, Eric. That's what I believe about us in this country right now. It's going to get worse. Hey, how about this? You know who they think killed Charlie Kirk now? People on the right side of the political spectrum? Israel. That's where we are now. On October 7th, they're playing with Charlie Kirk's murder to sow more division about Israel. That's where we are. That's what I'm presenting you with as what do we do about it as the person who wrote the book about the siege.
We have a father, I have a father, who wants to see the strongest country. We have a family
that don't have nothing to do
with
what he just said.
They want to see America strong. They want to see family values. They want to see good kids. They want to see happiness in society. They want to see safe streets. You know, my father tries to clean up the streets in Chicago, and it's met with horrible resistance. I built a building there. I know Chicago as well as any human being. There are 15 murders every weekend. 15 moms, 15 dads, countless brothers and sisters are losing loved ones every
Well, Charlie got killed in Utah.
Chicago, and they reject the help. We came in to save this country, to save this republic. You know, 5 years ago, you were watching Colin Kaepernick take a knee, you know, as they sang the national anthem at NFL games. You were watching, you know, Olympic soccer players, female soccer players, turn their back after they win a gold medal as the American flag is raised behind them. That's not America. You know, we are the greatest country anywhere in the world. I know this because I've traveled to the vast majority of them. We are so fortunate to be Americans. We should have the safest streets. We should have the most prosperous economy. We should have the best society. We have the best way of life. We should have a legal system that cannot be corrupted by the Letitia James who want to go after political enemies, both in our cases, Republican and Democrat. We should not have that in America. We should have the greatest system of law. We should have fairness. We should have a constitution. We should have
Your daddy is a convicted felon 34 times over.
And unfortunately, we don't because of the madness. And you know,
y'all please hit the like button.
You know, about seeing violence.
Double tap the face on your phone.
Man, I've sat behind this chair for a long time in the political world, right? I mean, you know, close to 50 years, and I've seen the disproportionate amount of violence targeting Republicans.
You talking about delusion? No, baby.
Nor can I tell you how many letters Laura has, and I know you love my wife, has opened up only to see white powder come flying out of them, right?
Listen, Eric, I'm with you.
And somebody from the right sent it to you.
This is what our family signed us up for when we got involved in public service. This is what it has become. And it's regrettable and it's frightening, especially when you have kids. That's why I invited you on to talk about it. Just because we don't agree on all the particulars and what the problems are and what even to do about them. I never want to see anything bad happen to you or anybody in your family. God forbid.
Well, it seems like people are voting with their pocketbooks because, you know, Under Siege just went to #1 on Amazon.
Oh,
you know, it's #1 in
okay, y'all, I'm finna go to sleep. Oh my God, I've had enough. This was a good one. This was good. I really enjoyed Candace. I really enjoyed her. The beginning. Yeah, this was a good one. Comey got the surprise with this. He done already been cleared by the Supreme Court or the grand jury. Yeah. Okay, good people. Thank you. I'll be 2 hours and 25 minutes in. Oh my God, I'm tired. Okay. Until next time. Ooh, excuse me. Sleep tight. Don't let the Trump bug bite. Make sure your diapers is clean before you go to sleep. Woo. Bye. Bye, John.